The New York Knicks are making major changes as New York is bringing in their secret weapon for this playoff series against the Indiana Pacers, as the Knicks need to change something being down 2-0. Meanwhile, we also know the Indiana Pacers do not know how to deal with this, and also there are some damning quotes between both Rick Carlisle and Tom Thibodeau that tell you everything on how this playoff series has been going, and we are going to break all of it down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and if you hear the sirens outside of my apartment, it is because this is an emergency. The New York Knicks have opted to make a serious change to this team, to the lineup, to what they've really needed to switch. It's been obvious something has had to change with the New York Knicks thus far this playoff series, as they are not doing very well against the Indiana Pacers. They've dropped both games thus far, being down 2-0 at home, and they're in a really, really tough spot that no team has ever won in before. No team's ever dropped those first two home games in the Eastern Conference Finals, then went on to win the series. So the Knicks obviously fighting an uphill battle to make history. And look, they can do it. I've said it for a while, and I'm going to stand by it. The Knicks can easily come back from this 3-2 deficit, from this 2-0 deficit, 3-2. So it's going to be in a few days when the Knicks are up 3-2. But in all seriousness, I do think the Knicks can come back from this deficit. I do not think it's something that's impossible. I think anyone writing the Knicks off right now is just being a downer. Yes, the situation does not look good, but still, there's ample time for the Knicks to turn this thing around. And Tom Thibodeau doing what we've all been waiting for. Now, as a lot of us saw late on Saturday night, we saw CP the franchise say, hearing a starting lineup change is strongly being considered for Game 3. Stay tuned. And that was proven to be true. Shout out to CP, who, as Ian Begley mentioned, hearing the Game 3 lineup change being strongly considered by the Knicks is to move Mitchell Robinson to the starting lineup and have Josh Hart come off the bench, as CP the franchise said earlier that the Knicks were strongly considering a lineup change ahead of Game 3. New York's starting lineup is minus 50 in the postseason and minus 29 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Indiana has a 2-0 series lead and will host the Knicks on Sunday. Based on where things stand currently, Robinson will be starting in that game. And on top of that, this is something Josh Hart has said that he's effectively open to without saying it, saying, man, Mitchell Robinson's huge. He's someone who just does everything. Offensive rebound, defensive rebound. He can guard on the perimeter, guard in the post. He's a big X factor for us. We have to figure out ways. I think he played 30 minutes. Figure out ways if he could play more. We're great with him on, and we all got to be willing to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. Now, when Josh Hart made this quote, something else did come to mind as well. It was mentioned by someone who subscribed, or I don't know if they're subscribed, but someone who commented on Knicks Digest. If you're not subscribed, I'm shouting you out to subscribe. But someone did say there's a world where Josh Hart's not talking about Mitchell Robinson, or not talking about himself and Mitchell Robinson at all, but is talking about Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. Now, that also is possible. We're not going to sit here and act like it's not. But for where things stand right now, what we're seeing is Mitchell Robinson enter into the starting lineup as the New York Knicks center, sliding cat to the power forward spot. And I love this because the Knicks, look, they needed to change something, and this is the change. Josh Hart's not shooting threes anyway. You know what? Make the offense more valuable by having Mitchell Robinson go out there and get offensive rebounds. And on top of that, make the defense more valuable by having Mitchell Robinson out there. And make the Knicks better because they have Mitchell Robinson out there. Because one thing is clear. The numbers might not show it, but Mitchell Robinson is one of the best players on the New York Knicks. It's very obvious when you watch him play. There's no one else who the Indiana Pacers look genuinely frightened by. They look like they're up to the task of trying to stop Jalen Brunson, something they failed to do thus far through 2 games. Outside of that, they don't really look thrown until Mitch comes in, and then they look thrown off completely. So obviously, that's huge for the Knicks that they have the ability to do that, and they're finally using this. Now, Mitchell Robinson throughout this series as far as played 50 minutes and sat for 51 minutes. In that span, what we've seen is a completely 2 different Knicks teams. With him on, the Knicks have a net rating of 12.8. With him off, they have a net rating of minus 20.4. The Knicks have lost by a total of 8 points in these 2 games. It's very telling that happened. And it's a 12.8 net rating and a 20.4 where it equals out to 8. Obviously, on top of that, it's going to be much different because we're going to the negatives. But whether it's a coincidence or whether it actually does play some part into it, it is important to note that the Knicks without Mitch getting outscored really poorly. And they're just playing worse. And when Mitch is on there, the Knicks are the better team. So Mitch needs to start. This is the right call, 100%. Now, on top of that, we've seen more mentioned by Kristen Winfield, who said the Indiana Pacers starting lineup had no answer for Mitchell Robinson, New York's defensive anchor who came off the bench midway through Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and alongside perimeter pest Miles McBride, completely swung an early 10-point deficit into the Knicks' favor. Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau rode Robinson from the 5:19 mark of the first quarter all the way until the 1:42 mark of the second period. Thibodeau turned back to Robinson at the 4:18 mark of the third quarter, and Robinson did start to look burned out, but still, it worked out for the best. And Winfield also said that the Knicks starters entered Game 2 on Friday, boasting a -68 net rating in the playoffs. The Pacers jumped out to a 19-9 lead in the opening minutes of the first quarter before Robinson and McBride sparked a 10-0 run, then outscored the Knicks unit by 8 points to start the second half. It's a difficult proposition to say the least, to abandon the 5 players who won 50 games, secured the East's number 3 seed, and gritted through Detroit Pistons in round 1, only to defy the odds and unseat the defending champion Boston Celtics in round 2. However, none of that matters anymore because Tom Thibodeau, he can ride that lineup as much as he wants. It's not working right now. I don't care if they beat the Celtics anymore. That's the past. I don't care if they beat the Pistons anymore. That's the past. Yeah, it felt good in the moment. What doesn't feel good right now is the Knicks losing to a team they should be beating in the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are not an NBA Finals level team. The Knicks are. They showed that by beating a Boston Celtics team that up until the end was fairly healthy. Unlike the Pacers, who have been blessed by injury luck throughout these last few playoffs. Now, not with the Knicks, they're fully healthy. But outside of that, they've been blessed with injury luck. They are not an NBA Finals contender. The Knicks have shown that they are. However, the Knicks are down this series because a series of unlikely events on top of then just playing one of the worst games they've played all playoffs long. Something needed to change, and this is the change that is the most obvious move to make. Now, look, you look at some of the Knicks' 3-man lineups. What you see is all of these are terrible. This is a common theme here. You look at the most used 3-man lineups, and that's OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, OG, Josh Hart, and Jalen Brunson, Towns, OG, and Josh Hart, OG, Josh Hart, and Bridges, Towns, Josh Hart, and Brunson. All these are in the negatives, down through Towns, Hart, Bridges, Towns, Anunoby, Bridges, Towns, Anunoby, Brunson, Towns, Bridges, Brunson. It doesn't matter. All of them are in the negatives. However, here's the weird thing about it. All these opposite number to the edge to the right side is the net rating here. Mitchell Robinson is in all of these. The only one that's negative is the one with him, Mikal, and Deuce McBride. However, when you pair Mitch with Jalen Brunson, the net ratings are all positive. And even when you don't, when you put in Mitch with OG and Deuce, it works. When you put Mitch in with Brunson and OG, it works. When you put Mitch in with Mikal and OG, it works. All of it works except for when Mitch is not out there in these 3-man lineups. And you then look at the 3-man lineups that have the highest offensive rating. Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, or 4-man. Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride. Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride. Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson. All of these lineups using that double big strategy has worked for the New York Knicks to a point that now what we're seeing is a New York Knicks team that effectively, when they use Mitchell Robinson, it works out. It works out every single time that Mitch leads to the Knicks having more success. It's been that way since he was drafted. It's that way now. And Mitch was supposed to be the starting center for this team before he went down with the injury. So this is not some crazy change the Knicks are making. As Thibodeau mentioned, and these are some damning quotes, he said it's hard to just look at it, the starter's net rating, that way because there's a lot of mixing and matching. So sometimes they're with the second unit as well. So you look at everything, and then you also have to look at what happens when you put the second unit in, compared to a guy in Rick Carlisle who's saying, not every player we have on our team is a perfect fit for exactly what we want to do, but coaching is about taking some parts that aren't necessarily identical and finding a way to bring out the strengths of those players to meld them with the rest. And so we try to do that. Every coach in the NBA is trying to do that, but I've resisted the whole concept of being a system coach for a long time. There's so much player movement now. You gotta have the attitude that you can take players that are presented to you and try to do your best. So while Tibbs is saying, well, don't look at the data, it doesn't change that, Rick Carlisle is saying, no, we're going to use our bench because it's working. For the first time, it seems like Tom Thibodeau is open to changing something around. That is a good sign. Your back is against the wall. You're on the proverbial ropes of this. You gotta swing back at some point. You might get punched in the mouth because of this. to continue the fighting analogy going, you're going to have your arms up. You're going to be getting hit. At some point, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to drop that right hand and swing, because your other option is you just keep getting battered and you don't swing back, and then you lose anyway. So look, if this goes out and the Knicks fail miserably because of it, sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think this is a great move. I honestly would rather Deuce start over Mitch, if I'm being honest. I think he fits better to counter the Pacers. I think the on-ball defense gets a little bit better, and I think you can avoid the rim protection situation a little bit. At the same time, I'm not going to complain about this change. I think it's better than what wasn't working, what was being ran. So I'm excited to see this go down against the Indiana Pacers on Sunday, May 25th. Guys, what do you think is going to happen? Do the Knicks still have hope here? Can they come back? Can they win this game? If the Knicks win this game, are they back in the series? Do you still want to write their obituary? I'm going to tell you one thing right now. Knicks are winning the series, man. They're going to figure this team out. We've seen it already. They've figured them out to a degree. We're just going to see it continue to happen. The Knicks are going to learn how to fully counteract this team, and they're going to be all right. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Also, thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers. I would be more excited, but I am filming this. I'm not sure if it's coming out tonight or tomorrow morning, but it is 11:26 p.m. on May 24th. Ben Rogers of Raptors Digest made me and Darius Dominguez of Rangers and Leafs Digest climb a mountain today. So I'm exhausted, and then I took a plane to get home. So I'm about to pass out. So if I don't seem like it, I'm super grateful for 15,000 subscribers. It means the world to me. I never really expected in my life I'd have a YouTube channel with 15,000 subscribers. So it's surreal. Thank you so much. I'll probably be way more excited tomorrow when I make a video as well. But guys, let's see the Knicks win a game. Thank you. Have a great day or a great night whenever this comes out. Go Knicks.